What does it really mean to be you? It's a weird question, and one we often don't talk about that much. But after playing Planescape Torment, this idea will consume your mind. Originally released in 1999, Planescape Torment is a game based on the Dungeons & Dragons universe that takes place specifically in an area called the Outer Planes, which is kind of like the afterlife for our universe, where depending on the type of character you play as, determines where your ultimate fate lies, either in the heavens, hells, or limbos of the afterlife. When you start the game, you wake up as a character known as the Nameless One in the Eternal Afterlife, who has no idea who they are or what's going on. But you find inscribed on a note instructions on how to learn about your true identity, and this starts you off on your adventure. You get to meet with 10 different and distinct tribes, all with their own deep philosophies and ways of life, ultimately only getting to choose a couple to align yourself with. And while all of these tribes offer their own very introspective philosophical thoughts that deserve a video in their own right, the real core question this game asks comes from the ending of the main story. You see, after finding a woman named Ravel, you come to the realization that you are actually the reincarnation of a truly sick individual. Countless years ago, the original Nameless One committed deeds so horrific and unimaginable that he was banished to the deepest depths of the afterlife, the worst of all the Outer Planes, home to endless suffering and death. And in order to atone for his actions and thus be placed in a more lenient plane in the afterlife, the Nameless One came to Ravel with a proposal. Ravel would force him to become immortal and thus suffer in hell forever, but by proxy, allow fate to put him in a new and less hellish plane. Ravel agreed to these terms on one condition, that the Nameless One would provide her with a riddle that no one could solve, asking the question, what could change the nature of a man? And so Ravel split the Nameless One into two, an immortal being that would forget their memory upon each reincarnation and death, and a deity of pure evil known as the Transcendent One, a being that would remember the memories of each Nameless One into eternity. And lo and behold, the final boss of the game is this Transcendent One, who you must either kill or join with in order to stop the never-ending cycle of torment for the Nameless One, where we at the very end of the game find this harrowing speech between the Nameless One and Transcendent Ones. Then this is my final question. What can change the nature of a man? The question is meaningless. Nonetheless, before there is an ending between us, I will hear your answer. Then this is my answer, and you are the proof. Nothing can change the nature of a man. You're wrong. If there's anything I have learned in my travels across the plains, it's that many things can change the nature of a man. Whether regret, or love, or revenge, or fear. Whatever you believe can change the nature of a man, can. Then you have learned a false lesson, Broken One. Have I? I've seen belief move cities, make men stave off death, and turn an evil hag's heart half-circle. This entire fortress has been constructed from belief. Belief damned a woman whose heart clung to the hope that another loved her when he did not. Once, it made a man seek immortality and achieve it, and it has made a posturing spirit think it is something more than part of me. Your defiance will hurt you more than any wound in this place. Belief cannot change the nature of a man. I think it can. I think belief could even unmake me, if I believed enough. This final speech puts into context the biggest question in the entire game, which is saying a lot considering Planescape Torment is full of so many. Is there anything that can truly change the nature of a man? When we play as a Nameless One in game, we do go through each quest and objective out of our own volition. Throughout all the philosophical questions and moments in game, we have full autonomy to choose as we wish. But in those final moments, we learn that none of it mattered. The true nature of ourselves was always someone born of pure evil, someone who deserved to be stricken to the deepest depths of what we would call hell. No matter what actions we take, no matter what decisions you make in game, it can't change the fact that you were a creature born of pure evil, who has simply forgotten their past. Maybe no matter who you are today, we must always live in the shadow of the person that we were yesterday. But is that really the case? After all, what is it that can change the nature of a man? Is it the struggles we go through? The pain? The suffering? Is it the ideas we adopt over time and the characteristics we inherit with age? Can a man truly be changed? Or are we destined to a fate from which we cannot break from its shackles? Oftentimes in our real lives, you hear sayings like people don't change, or once a cheater, always a cheater. It's because at the deepest core of our humanity, it's often assumed that no matter how hard we try, there's an essence within all of us that we can't escape. And it's only with time that this sense of self becomes even harder and harder to budge against. But I personally think that, as the Nameless One says, there is a nature within all of us that can be melded, altered and left behind. That fire in our souls to see our image with disgust, to be inspired by pure hatred, love, or duty to become something greater. But then again, maybe for those of us that do change, it was never a change at all, but instead a light within our souls that was always there. So can the nature of a man be changed? Well, to be honest, my guess would be that whatever you think the answer to that question is, might just have a funny way of coming true.